In 2015, we left the rat race and went to the farm. We bought a 100-year-old farmhouse and 9 acres. After 3 years of extensive renovations, we can finally call ourselves College Hill Farm.
Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Today is the first day of gardening season in 2019. Okay, it's time. It's 2019. It's February the 4th. Now, a lot of people say, well, you know, it's still going to snow. Of course it's going to snow some more. Of course it's going to be cold. Today, we're going to get up to a balmy 57 degrees. And it's been dry for 3 or 4 days. So it's time to turn our attention to our garden. Every year, you need to let your garden come to an end. Garden, of course, the one right here behind me, had corn in it, it had beans in it, it had all kinds of vegetables in it. So what we want to do is we want to get this garden ready for the spring, because February the 14th, you used to have your peas in the ground in zone 6. That's what my grandma always said. I don't grow peas, but that's what she always said. By February the 14th, Valentine's Day, you should have your peas in. Well, for us, I don't worry about growing peas, so I don't go by that. But in February, there's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on. For one thing, we've got to trim our grape trellis, our grapevines, and re-support the trellis a little bit. We'll be tipping all of our blackberry canes. We'll be tipping all of the raspberry canes. So we need to get the tomato cages and that kind of stuff out of the garden. And then we want to I want to go up to the barn, and I'm going to take the potato plow off, which is still on, which I use for digging trenches, for laying water line or laying electric line or anything like that. That's still on, so it's got to come off. And we get the tomato cages out, and I'm going to put on the bush hog, and I'm going to go through, and all of this back here in the garden is going to get bush hogged down. Now that does 2 things. One, it makes it so that when you're going to work in the summertime, there aren't big stalks and stuff left, because what'll happen is, by doing it this early, I'll get all of this down on the ground and it'll begin to rot. Then toward the end of February, I will go ahead and plow this all in, and it will all be plowed in and ready to rot up and have a little bit of anaerobic digestion in the ground, which is really aerobic digestion, because there's air all in the ground. So we'll get that all plowed up at the end of February. Then about mid-March, after the weeds have had time to germinate some, we'll plow it again. And then when we're ready to put our potatoes in, around April the 1st, we'll plow it again. And that'll mean that a lot of the weed seeds that we're going to germinate have. So we've killed off a lot of weeds and everything, but that all starts because we have to start in early February. So let's head up to the barn. We'll grab a couple. There's a couple of tomato cages still in this part of the garden. So we'll grab those tomato cages, and then we'll head it up to the barn and put the bush hog on. Now, I just store my tomato cages up here by the barn outside. There'll be some weeds grow up through them, but by the time they're ready to use, there won't be enough weeds to worry about, and I'll pull them all out. I've got probably 50 large tomato cages. I know I've got 25 small tomato cages. You can go back and look at our video on how to make them. I'm going to make some more. I'm going to make 25 or 30 more of the little ones this year. So I guess I'll get at getting the potato plow off and put the quick hitch on. Okay, time to hook up the bush hog. Alright, got my bush hog on. That first time of the season, it's always tough. I'm going to have to get some grease on those splines. But, you know, I wanted to get it on, and I went ahead and pressed it on there. So, I may regret that later, but it don't matter. Alright, what I want to do, we've got to get this field cleared. And the way we're going to do that is with the bush hog. But I don't want to do it like cutting hay. You know, I showed you how to cut hay with the bush hog, and you put it in high gear, in high range, 4th gear. And that way you're traveling, 10 miles an hour, and you're cutting off the grass and leaving it long. That's fine for cutting hay. But for this, I want this stuff to be chopped up as fine as I can get it. So the tractor is set in low gear, low range, and I'll probably put it in 1st or 2nd gear. That way the bush hog spins over a same piece of ground for a pretty good amount of time, and that makes it cut it all up into almost mulch. So I'll go ahead and get at this. Now, you're going to see me going real slow, but the truth is, maybe fast according to the video, but the truth is I'm going to put the video on 4 times speed, and you'll get to see how that works out. Okay, I got to get at it. The rain's coming. I checked the radar just a few minutes ago. It looks like I've probably got 30 or 40 minutes before the rain gets here. So I'm probably only going to get this garden done today. I'll have to pick another day when it's not raining and not too muddy. But the other two plots are on a slope and they drain really well. This one could be a mud bath, but it's been 3 or 4 days, and I'm hoping that I won't have a problem. If I let the bush hog down too low, it could cause me to get stuck. But I'm not going to drop it too low. I'm going to cut most of this down. So, all right, I'm going to get at it. starting to sprinkle a little bit. But if you'll look, it looks like I've almost put a load of mulch on this garden. Cutting those corn stalks down makes a big difference. It smells like corn silage out here because those have already been fermenting some, and I've cut them up and they're going to decay faster. One thing y'all are going to note, you're going to ask is, why don't I do that in the fall? The reason I don't do it in the fall is the corn provides some shade for the ground and other weeds don't start growing. So I wait till the spring and early spring, like now, February the 4th, to cut that stuff down. Now I've got 3 more garden plots to do, but not going to get to them today because the rain's here. So it's time for me to get on to the next thing. I'd like to thank you for visiting with us at College Hill Farm today. I hope you found our videos entertaining and or informative. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and comment on both Facebook and YouTube. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.